Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at the state of the race of the 2026 Senate, Governors, and House of Representatives midterms at all the three major important races. We're going to be taking a look at them individually, diving deep into them. We're going to be using our own political website for today's video. Yes, this is my website, and you can find it in the description section. I will have it pinned and also in the comment section and description section as well. If I don't forget, but it should be on there. Now, before we get started, I do want to take a look at some of the data that we are seeing for this midterms in terms of just approval rating overall, and also taking a look at, I know this video is focused on 2026, but also taking a look at some 2028 odds that we do put up on our site, and we do factor in betting markets, like such as Polymarket, Kalshi, and whatnot. Sometimes predict it, but probably less so of that. Before we get started, make sure you guys are subscribed. Click the bell so you don't miss my content. Press the like button. Share this video. Don't forget we have memberships. If you're interested, you can find links to that in the description section. And also check out our political website. It's in the pinned comment section down below, or you can find it in the description section if I don't forget to put it on there. So on our website, if you want to take a look at the 2026 midterm specifically, we have all the 2026 midterm stuff all put into one page. You can go right here. You see where my mouse is pointing to right here, 2026 midterms. You click that, takes you right there. If you want to take a look at the 2028 betting odds, some approve rating of like Supreme Court, Donald Trump's approve rating, favorability rating, it's on the very first page. It should be when you on top stories. You just scroll down right here. So let's take a look at this really quick. Presidential approve rating, Donald Trump's approve rating is at 40%. He's disapproved of by 58. It's in that negative 18 points. So that has not changed since May 24th. Real Clear Politics. Polling average is what we're using. The total public debt is nearly 40 trillion. That's as of July 13, 2026, according to the U.S. Treasury. That's what we're using as our source right there. National sentiments. The direction of the country, 34% of Americans say it's headed in the right direction. That's about a third. And nearly two-thirds of Americans suggest the country's headed in the wrong direction or wrong track. That's in at negative 26 points. Not looking good for the Trump administration. Biden did not do any better. I don't know why I bring that up, but I just want to mention that. Congressional approval rating, 19%, just about 20%, one-fifth of Americans believe Congress is approved of, and 72%, staggering 72% say it's disapproved of. That's a net negative of 53% difference underwater as of May 10th, according to RCP polling averages. I will update these numbers, by the way. I know from data from May is pretty outdated. But Supreme Court approval rating, I just want to go over this really quick because a few videos ago I did that as well. And some numbers have changed, especially with the 2028 odds. 41% approve of the Supreme Court overall and 54% disapprove. They actually just had a ruling, a couple weeks ago or something like that on the birthright citizenship, in favor of Democrats. And that's a net negative of 13 points underwater. So here's what really got updated. That's the 2028 presidential races. So the Democratic presidential nominee in 2028, according to Polymarket, gives Gavin Newsom a 20% chance at becoming the nominee. In second place, coming close to him, is AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, at 14%. In third place, you have Jon Ossoff, who has risen compared to the last update I showed you guys on our website. So Jon Ossoff had a 5% chance than the last time I showed you guys my website. And now he's up to a 12% chance. So Jon Ossoff is really rising among the Democratic base. A lot of people are liking him. And I know there's a sentiment among the Democratic Party where they refuse to nominate Jewish politicians as president, similar to Josh Shapiro. A lot of Democrats, especially online, say they are going to refuse to do that just because of him. Simple as that, just him being Jewish in general. And that's a fact. So Jon Ossoff, for some reason, gets different treatment. Let me know why he does get different treatment compared to Josh Shapiro, who I think is outspoken when it comes to leading speeches. I think Josh Shapiro is very good at that. Now, when it comes to governing, that's a different story. But he won by 14 last time. He won Democratic support, Independent support, Republican support, and all that. So I don't get why, if they don't like Josh Shapiro, Jon Ossoff, what's going on with that? That's just my question. As for the Republican Party, J.D. Vance leads at 41%. to Marco Rubio's 28% at second place. There's no one else that comes in any close to that besides Rubio and Vance. So J.D. Vance still holds the narrow lead. Presidential election winner in 2028. The Democrat, Gavin Newsom, is at third place. So it's J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio. So right now, Republicans, according to Polymarket, are favored to win the 2028 election, which I personally have to disagree with, but this is my website, and you can see that I disagree with my own website because we don't show bias right there. I think that's perfect advertising, to be honest. And then you even have stuff like foreign stuff, like next Prime Minister of Ethiopia. I think that's pretty cool, but I don't really care about that. So let's go to the 2026 midterms right now. Let's take a look at that. And as you can see, we added the House race battleground districts. We don't have specific districts just because it takes up too much space. You can see no House races have been added yet. If I do, I will let you guys know in the future. But as of right now, we currently project on our website 220 seats, House seats for the Democratic Party. They need 218 for the majority, so they get it just by 2. So it's really tight to Republicans' 215. We actually had a new poll from Washington State suggesting that the Republican is up by 1 point in a very key district. I think it's Washington's 3rd congressional district. Correct me if I'm wrong. I probably am wrong. But aside from that, on our website, we do currently have it a very close race, but Democrats, at the end of the day, are expected to flip control of the House of Representatives with 435 total seats. And then you can also see the different characterizations in the margins. So we currently have 18 likely districts for the Democrats, 23 lean districts for the Democrats, 179 safe. And then as for the Republicans, we just have 10 lean districts for them, 25 lean districts for the Republicans, and 180 solid red districts for the GOP. Let's take a look at the Senate map right now. Our current projection is 51 seats for the Republicans. So we do currently have the Republicans retaining control of the Senate, not the House, and Democrats at just 48 seats, and that's including one toss-up. One toss-up from the state of Michigan. On our website, we cannot make a projection just yet. I think it's a toss-up at this point. That's what I'm characterizing on our website. As for Maine, that was recently a toss-up previously, and now I am considering a likely Republican for Susan Collins, considering that she does not have a clear nominee. She has no opponent. This is looking like a Joe Biden, Kamala Harris type of scenario in 2024. Not as bad as that, but really I think Susan Collins should win. She always overperforms here, whether you like her or not. I'm not saying I support her. In fact, I don't. But still, I think she's going to win at the end of the day just because my bias does not get into the way, and that's very good advertising as well, in my opinion. As for Ohio, let's take a look at these. State by state. So Georgia, lean Democrat. That's the characterization on my website. Margin is +3 for Jon Ossoff. Like I said, he is a top Democratic challenger in 2028 for president. He could potentially get to second place if he surpasses AOC. Right now, he is increasing. You can take a look at that on their website. His numbers are increasing in terms of the odds of him becoming the nominee, going from 5 to 12%, catching up to AOC. I believe AOC is about like 17% or something like that. So Georgia, it should be lean Democrat, +3. I agree with that. It's on our website. And just because his opponent, he's raising so much. Jon Ossoff is the best when it comes to campaign funds, fundraising numbers, the money. He's very good at money, which is what makes him such a solid 2028 Democratic opponent. He's going to outspend his opponent. And nowadays, elections, it comes down to who has more money. That basically determines the winner. Not all the time, but for a lot of the times as well. North Carolina, on our website, we currently project that Roy Cooper is going to win by about a likely margin, 6%. So you can see the map right here. I just think that Michael Wadley isn't the greatest Republican candidate. He's also not the worst. Don't get me wrong. He's definitely not someone like Mark Robinson. For example, Roy Cooper is very popular in the state, former governor, very well liked among not only Democrats and independents, but also Republicans as well. It makes sense. And it aligns with the majority of the polls. I think the average is Roy Cooper up by 5, but we're being a little more generous for him. We say he's up by 6. In Maine, I just talked about that. It's +7 for Susan Collins. It was previously considered a tie. Now it's +7 just because Graham Plattner dropped out. And they don't have a clear nominee for the Democrats. In Michigan, it will remain a toss-up. I cannot have a clear winner just because the Democratic primary is so tight. It's between, obviously, Haley Stevens, who just had a debate with Abdul El-Sayed. There's no clear winner. A poll just recently shows that Haley Stevens leads with 48% compared to Abdul El Said 41%. That's a difference of 7 points. I do want to make it clear that I believe it's her own internal pollster, which suggests it's going to be probably closer than that. And Abdul still obviously has a very decent chance of defeating her. And there's no clear winner. Mike Rogers, I think, is a very good Republican candidate in the state of Michigan. He came very close in winning in 2024. That was more of a red wave year. So I expect him that I won't be shocked if he loses this time around, just because the environment factor shift should favor Democrats demographically. So I just think his chance probably was 2024, and he lost to Alyssa Slotkin by like 0.3. I would not be shocked if he loses. I'm currently leaning towards Democrats personally, but on our website you can see it's toss-up. There's no clear lead as of right now. And New Hampshire, for the Senate race here, it should not be solid Democrat. That should have changed, and in fact, I thought I did change that. It should be lean Democrat for the Senate race. You have Chris Papas going up against, I believe, Chris Sununu's brother or something like that. I think it's for the Senate race, definitely the Senate race. New Hampshire Senate race should be lean Democrat. I will change that. It's not solid Democrat no longer. We just had recent polling, so just Chris Papas leads only by 1%, and that's not anywhere near safe. So it should be lean Democrat. And then as for the next Senate race, you have Minnesota +5 for the Democrats. That's barely enough to consider a likely amount. Minnesota Senate race is 1,000% going to be way closer than the governor's race. Amy Klobuchar is extremely popular. She should win by double digits. But as for the Senate race in Minnesota, it's going to be within single digits, obviously. And then Texas, we consider it +2. So this hasn't changed. We haven't gotten much since the last update. Lean Republican for Ken Paxton over probably. Ken Paxton, honestly, I think is just going to win by a similar amount that Ted Cruz did in 2018 against Beto O'Rourke. I just think that James Tallarico is very good. He's a very good Democratic candidate. Don't get me wrong. But he has some things in the past that he said that throws off some voters. And then Ken Paxton, obviously, don't get me started. He has so many flaws around him. But I just think Texas is too much of a red state, believe it or not. And the main reason why I can't say that James Tallarico wins is because Jasmine Crockett voters say they will refuse to vote and support and back James Tallarico. That's basically the number one reason why he's not going to win, because Jasmine Crockett voters are so stubborn. And it's a fact. You can see it online. And I know online doesn't really correlate with actual voting, but sometimes it does, and I think in this case it does. Ohio, lean R. We have it +3 for John Husted. Sherrod Brown, I think he's past his prime. He got unseated in 2022. He was seen as an electoral juggernaut, but not anymore. I think his time is up. Ohio is a very red state at this point. John Husted is a solid Republican candidate. You have Iowa. We characterize it lean to likely R. It should say lean. I'm not sure why it's likely right now. That also needs to be updated. Alaska, it is lean Democrat. Mayor Petola up by 4% against Dan Sullivan. So this is a change, because previously we had, I believe, Petola up by 5 to 6. Now she's only up by 4. So her lead came down by just a couple points on her website. It's now lean instead of likely Democrat. So it is getting closer, and Dan Sullivan is kind of catching up with that margin. And we already went over the House. Now, before we end off this video, last thing to cover, the gubernatorial races, the governor's races, Nevada. We currently characterize this as lean Republican for Joe Lombardo, who recently just got it. He got pulled over for a red light violation, but then he got let go as soon as the officer knew who he was, and Joe Lombardo was like, "Do you know who I am? I'm Joe Lombardo." It was pretty bizarre, if you ask me. I'm not sure what happened to that officer, but he definitely should not have let him go just because he was the governor. And he, in fact, did just let him go because he was the governor. He didn't even say, "I'm giving you a warning." He didn't say anything about no warning. He just said, "You can go." That's pretty much it. Didn't pretty much explain anything. So, Georgia, tilt Republican for their governor's race. We do have Brian Kemp getting replaced by, I believe it is Rick Jackson. Yes, Rick Jackson against Keisha Bottoms. That's going to be the race here officially. Keisha Bottoms isn't the best Democratic candidate. She also isn't the worst. The main reason why I'm saying she isn't the worst, even though she is very bad, is because she's going to get a lot of the African American turnout very well. And if you've seen Georgia's Supreme Court race here, Republicans did very well here. The one race they didn't was when Democrats ran an African American, and she almost won. She lost by 3, when the other race had it Republicans winning by like double digits. So I think the African American factor is really huge in Georgia. It's not to be underlooked at. I think it's a huge aspect, especially when Raphael Warnock outperformed John Ossoff in 2020. So next state, Ohio, we have Vivek Ramaswamy replacing Mike DeWine by just 2 points. His opponent, Amy Acton, is, I think, a decent Democrat. Ohio is still a very red state. I think that some Republicans don't trust Vivek Ramaswamy, but you got to keep in mind, I think he's going to get a little underestimated here, just because you don't have people publicly saying they will support him, even though they probably will. You saw in the 2024 election, he cracked, I believe, 8% up until the Iowa caucus when he ran for president in 2028. And keep in mind, he got 8% when he never ran at all for any public office. He was not a politician. Name recognition was very low, and he still managed to get 8. That is very shocking to me and very impressive for Vivek. If he does lose, I won't be surprised as well, because polls suggest it's going to be very, very tight. As for Arizona, we characterize Arizona's governor's race as lean Democrat for Katie Hobbs. She wins by the same amount of points Vivek wins in Ohio, by 2% over Andy Biggs. Let's see if Andy Biggs can do better than Kari Lake. Nevada, lean Republican. I think I talked about that as well. +2. Wisconsin, +1 for Mandela Barnes. I believe that's the candidate going up against. Yes, that is the candidate going up against Tom Tiffany, the Republican. Tilt Democrat. I think Mandela Barnes is being overlooked at, overrated. I think that Wisconsin might want to elect a Republican governor this time around, just because their recent leadership was Democrat, Tony Evers, who is now retiring. And Mandela Barnes, he lost to Ron Johnson, and I know that's Ron Johnson, who's completely different than someone like Tom Tiffany. I think Tiffany has a realistic chance at winning. Whoever wins, I won't be shocked. I think either way, one of them is going to win, and it won't be by more than 2 points at the very most. It's going to be within like a tilt margin, which is why we characterize it +1 for the Democrats. In New Hampshire, it's likely R for Kelly Ayotte. Kelly Ayotte, I think, won by 7 points last time. I think it should still stay likely for right now. And then Alaska's governor's race is lean Republican, +5 is the margin. There's some polls suggesting it can go either way, definitely. But the undecideds were extremely high. I think undecided was like 20%, so there's no clear winner in Alaska's governor's race. Iowa is a toss-up right now. For some reason, I have not updated that. It should say tilt or lean Democrat for Rob Sand. I think Rob Sand wins by just a couple points. And then that's pretty much it. Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. Make sure to check out our political website in the comment section. One last final reminder to subscribe, click the bell so you don't miss my content. Press the like button, share this video. Don't forget we have memberships. If you're interested, you can find a link to that in the description section. Thank you everyone for watching. And also, if you want to change the screen on our website from dark to light, you can just click this right here. It's pretty easy on the top right here next to the date. It's right here.